So I'm going to talk to you about uh, how you can install a CentOS Linux operating system into your Windows machine. So we will be doing it using VirtualBox as one of the software, and then CentOS that you can download it online. So when you need that, all you have to do is like just go to your browser, search for VirtualBox, and then you can go to the website virtualbox.org, and then from where you can click on download VirtualBox, and depending on which operating system you want to install Linux, like you can select Windows, and then you have Windows, and then it starts downloading. Since I have it already, I'm going to cancel this one. And the other thing that we need is CentOS operating system. So you go to centos.org, and in there we have two versions like CentOS Linux and CentOS Stream. CentOS Stream is what is going to be the future, so we will try using that. So when I go to download here, even here you can see CentOS version 7, that's part of CentOS Linux. But CentOS Stream, we have like 8 and 9. We will try to download 9. You click on this, again, depends on the architecture that you have. I have Intel x64 operating system, so I'm going to click on that here. It will start downloading, but this is like a large file, so it's 7.8 gigs, takes a few minutes. Since I have that as well already, I'm going to cancel this one as well. Now that once you have both of these files, what we can do is like first install VirtualBox. Let's begin the installation. Okay, it's going to install all these things, which is okay. I'm going to keep this installation process as simple as possible, so I'm going to just go with the defaults. So when it's installing, it might temporarily disconnect from the network. Okay, install. Okay. And do we want to start it? Yes, we definitely want to. Let's click finish. So it's going to start the VirtualBox. Okay, we have it here, and in here the first thing we want to do is like, so this is like the hypervisor software, the software that will create the other operating system for us to use it here. So I'm going to click on add, and no, not add. I want to create a new machine, so I click new. It asks me what do I want to call it. Let's say I want to call it CentOS, and it's going to be this disk of the virtual computer is going to be like available in this folder. I'm like okay with it. It automatically like detects based on what I enter as the name, but if you want to make sure, you can select Linux, and then CentOS is like Red Hat based, so there is no CentOS as such. You will have to use the Red Hat 64-bit thing. That's what we have. Okay, click next. Now, how much RAM should we be allocating for this machine? Now, like, it's usually recommended that you give a couple of GBs. It depends on your operating system, the host system as well. I have like 16 gigs. Let's see how this one works with 2 GB of RAM. So I'm going to increase this to 2 gigs. Okay, next. And do we want to create the virtual hard disk? Yes, like this will be like the virtual hard disk within our real hard disk. And that's what the operating system will use, so that it kind of isolates the Windows operating system and the Linux operating system. Okay, so create a new one. And we want it to be VirtualBox disk image. That's the format. There are 3 different formats of how we can use it. I'm going to use the default one. Next, and all this like dynamically allocate the 8 gigs as I consume more and more. So I'm going to go with that. Click next. And the hard disk file, what do you want to call it? The virtual hard disk file. So let it be centos.pdi, but if you notice, This one is like the same directory. C users Sufyan and then VirtualBox VMs. Within that, I have a folder called CentOS, and within that is where the virtual hard disk file is. Okay, although if you want to increase, if you want to give more than 8 gigs, you can do that as well. If you think that you are going to store a lot of data in your virtual machine, you can go ahead and then increase, decrease. But 8 gigs is what is usually recommended for a Linux system. Anyway, so I'm going to click on create. Okay, now we have specified things, but we haven't specified anywhere that like use this file of mine during the startup, because that's what is going to enable the installation. So I'm going to come here and then click on settings and then click on storage. And here I'm going to select the ID, the controller. So I'm going to say the first time you try to install, I want it to install from a new image, and it's here. Open, choose. Okay. Okay, so this is what I want to start with, and this will be like the primary device for now. And once the installation is complete, it's going to go back to the virtual hard disk after the installation. Okay. So I'll go click OK and then click on Start. And here it says, what do I want to do? Do I want to first test how it works, or do I want to directly go ahead and then install? You can do either of those things. Let me uh, install it directly. So I'm going to click on install, and it's going to take us through the installation process. Uh, During the installation process, this might take time, so I'm going to like fast forward the video wherever it takes too much time. Okay, now we select which language do we want. I'll select English. Select English, and then depending on uh, which version of English, you can select one of those things. I'm going to select English UK. Click continue. And here we need to specify a few things like keyboard English UK is fine for us. Language is English UK. Time zone, depending on whichever you want, you can select one of those things. It automatically tries to detect. So I'm just going to select your London, and from there I'm going to click done. Installation source, local media, that's already there. And software selection, you can install with a GUI, without a GUI. It depends on your needs. Sometimes like on machines where you don't have a monitor, or you don't plan to work with a monitor most of the times, and you only want SSH connection and then you can work on top of it, you can go with just a server there. Why have a GUI? Like if you want to use it with the GUI, you are welcome to do so. You can even select workstation if you want, like a user friendly desktop system that works mostly like Ubuntu or even Windows, stuff like that. Okay, so I'm just going to select server so that uh, my image is minimal. And if you want more software packages as part of your machine, you can select like, do you want any debugging tools, DNS name server, file server? So all these things that you see on the right, these are like additional things that if you like to have, you can install any of these things. Okay, I'm just going to install the server, click done. And installation destination, we want it on this 8 GB disk. So click done. Storage configuration. Select the device you would like to install. Yes. Okay, so that's happening. Do we want the root account to be enabled? Most of the Linux systems, like since I'm going to be using it as a user, I mean like SSH user, like I'll want it. So I'll just select what do I want the root password to be. So let's say like something simple that I can't remember. It's just really short. I would recommend use something uh, like strong on it. Allow root SSH login with password. Let's say I do. Done. Okay, that's done. Do we want more users? If we want more users, I can select more users as well. Let's say Sufyan, and then I give a password for this as well. Do we want this user to be an administrator? Let's say I do so that it has root privileges. Advanced. This looks good. So I'm going to click done. Now all is well. I can just go ahead and then click on begin installation. Now this will take its time so that the Linux operating system gets installed. Great. Now here it says like CentOS stream is successfully installed. Let's reboot it. Just click on the reboot system button and then it will do the reboot. I'm also going to check if your keyboard is like uh, into VirtualBox and then you need to get onto your host operating system, you can just press the right control key in your keyboard because here it says like the host is right control. So when you click on that, that's how you switch. And you click on. So now it is like within the Linux system. If I click back, press the right control button, it comes up. View, rotate screen. Select devices. Okay, now here it shows us like there are two options. Which one do you want? Let's say I select the first one. That's our Linux machine. Scale mode. This one that here I have like a machine. Now, this is the CentOS Linux machine. I can do what I want to do with it. Let's say the first thing it asks me to do is like login. I have two logins that I created. One was with my name, asks me for the password. I give the password, and then now I'm in here. It says like Sufyan at localhost, which means I'm already into the Linux machine. Right over. List the files. Nothing was there. Name the working directory. Okay, here it tells me I have logged in as I mean, my home directory is home Sofia. All good. I'll exit. Okay. I'll exit from this one. So I'm logged out. If you have another login, you can log in with that as well. So I do root. This is usually not like a recommended method of creating the login, but just to demonstrate, I created this one as well. And now I'm logged in as root. So this time if I do open directory, it will just be /root because /root is the home directory of the root user. Okay, all good. Now this is how you can work with it. You click when you don't need this anymore, you can like simply close this one, save the machine state, let's say I'm going to shut down. Okay. The machine is like done now. So you have allocated 2 gigs from your computer, and then that's how you have it up and running. Now let's say I start this machine again. Open CentOS. With the number, it should ask for the login information. So I want to show you something like even if you have your virtual machine running in VirtualBox, you can still work with it. For example, let's say I first log in my user, and then if I try your config, it will tell me what is the IP address of this machine. Here it tells me that the IP address is 10.0.2.15. Okay. Now I'm going to close this one, and from my Windows machine, like I can go to PowerShell, and from here I can do SSH. The user is Sufyan at 10.0.2.15. 10.0.2.15. So this is like my Windows machine. So, and if you find this one, it should try to connect to the machine. While this happens, I'm quickly also going to check what is this Windows computer's IP address. So compose then IP config. This will tell me the computer's IP address. Here it tells me that the IP address of this one is like something 172.168.55.28. My virtual computer should also have been in those same lines, but it's not. I'll quickly talk about the networking part as well. So it's not able to connect. So what we need to do is, for now, I'll first stop this machine. Sudo shutdown. This will shut down the machine. Now here it says powered off. Go to settings. Go to network. Here it says NAT, which means it has created like a network of its own. We don't want that. Let's say I create the bridged mode so that I get to connect with this virtual machine from my host machine as well, just like it's another machine on my network, not a machine within my machine. So I'm just going to say, okay, bridged adapter. Okay, so use this one. Okay, so my Windows machine is currently using this wireless USB adapter. So connect to that same network of wherever my Wi-Fi is connected. Okay, okay, now I start again. Now this time, if I do ifconfig, it should have a different IP address. Okay, then yeah, if I do here, you see, like 172.168.55.10, which is like along the, I mean, that's in the subnet of my Windows computer. So I come back this time, and then here I do SSH. It should prompt me for a password. Oops, it's 5510. Now here if you see, was this one. This is my Windows machine. Windows is PowerShell. It asks me, are you sure with that fingerprint? Yes. What's the password? I gave that same password of my virtual machine. No, and I got connected. What are the files? There's nothing. If I do pwd, it will tell me my home directory. So now I'm basically like having this virtual machine running in the background, but still I'm connecting to it from my Windows machine. But this is what happens even when you have like some cloud machine, like or like an EC2 instance somewhere. So you have that machine running there. Uh, it's running all the infrastructure, but you basically like just do SSH and then you get into that. Now when you type exit and come out, you are back to your machine. So that's how it works. I hope this gets you started with virtual machine. You can have it running, you can click close to this one, and then so it asks you what you want to do. Let's say I want to send the shutdown signal. Once you are done with your virtual machine, everything, like you can just click shutdown signal, and then it will shut down. So that's how this works.